think today is a really good day to do some fun art. Some unique art pieces, but I think a good way to start is to just do a little practice swatch. So let's see, what do I want to paint? Let's just do a little practice. We'll do some just little dabbing here. Maybe we'll make a little dandelion. A few dabs, little swipe. Yeah, that's looking good. Maybe a few little lines here. Yeah, I like that. That's looking pretty good. I like it. And let's see. Boop. Oops, I got a little paint on your nose. Oops. Hello, my beautiful friends. It is so good to see all of you. How are you all? I hope you're doing well and you have been able to avoid the nasty bug going around. Man, it is a mean one. I missed you all last week because I was down sick again, and whew, it kind of knocked me for a little bit of a loop. So I pray you are all staying well and healthy. Today I thought it would be fun to jump into a couple of, well, I actually have 3 really fun designs for us to work on this week. I thought it would be fun to just dive into some fun, crafty, artistic type projects. I just felt like I needed to do something a little relaxing and kind of low key. On the heels of being sick, my creativity was just feeling a little tired. So I thought this would be a really good way to just jump back into things and jump into some fun art. I think this will be a lot of fun, and for me personally, there is nothing more therapeutic than doing a little art. So don't let the word art scare y'all. Stay with me because these are the types of projects that we can all do. They're very approachable, they're doable, they're very, very, very easy. I know you guys are going to enjoy these. So let's head into the studio and jump into our projects. Do y'all remember when we made these art pieces, these cute little fun, just whimsical pieces for the studio? Well, I have loved these so much, and I actually still really, really love them. Sometimes I just like to have a change. You know, sometimes when you just do something as simple as changing your art, it just makes the whole space feel fresh and new. And that is what I am in the mood to do. So I have a really fun, artistic, crafty kind of project that we're going to work on to replace these pieces back here. But don't worry, I'm not getting rid of those because I still love them and they will make an appearance again someday, I'm sure. All right, y'all, for this project, we are going to be working with some drywall mud. So are you ready to go play in the mud and create a really cool, crafty, unique, artistic piece? Here we go. Let's get started with our very first project. I think we are going to have so much fun with this project, y'all. So for the supplies here, I am using some 12 by 12 3mm pine boards that I had on hand. We usually use these in our laser cutter, but I thought they would be perfect for this project, mainly because they fit splendidly in my frames. And I was thinking, since we're going to be working with some drywall mud, it might work better on the wood versus canvas. We will also need a drywall mud knife. We're going to need some of these really fun combs. I've got some silicone spatulas here, some dough scrapers, and then the star of our show is, of course, the drywall mud. I like this brand because it's pre-mixed. I don't have to deal with mixing anything. The consistency is already perfect. So I do love this particular brand, and you can get it at any of your home builder supply stores. Okay, so we are going to start out by spreading several little dollops of this drywall mud all over our entire piece of board here, our board. The trick to this project, the trick to success here is to make sure that you get your mud spread on here reasonably thick. I tried to keep mine at about a 1-inch thickness. if you don't get it thick enough, because we're going to be making some really fun patterns in our drywall mud, and if you don't get it thick enough, the pattern won't be as defined and it won't show as much. So I guess if you want that look, you don't spread it quite as thick. But I really wanted my patterns to be super defined and very noticeable. So I tried to keep this spread about 1 inch thick all the way across, and you definitely want to try to keep that thickness as consistent as possible over the entire board. So I will just go ahead and continue spreading this on. I'm using my drywall, my mud knife here to just scrape everything down, and then I do come in with my rubber spatula to kind of smooth it all out, but you could also use your dough scraper to do this as well. Just anything that kind of helps smooth it out a little bit. And then I also come in and with a very clean mud knife, I scrape all of the edges, down the edges to get off any of that excess mud so that we can reduce sanding later. I've smoothed out the mud, and now we're going to start making some fun patterns in this. So I'm going to be using some of these combs, and I will have all of the supplies that I used for this project listed in the description box for y'all under our supply list. I always have that there for y'all, so check that out. Okay, so now I'm just simply going to take, I chose the finer tooth sided of this comb to just make some fun vertical lines down this board. Now, this isn't going to be perfect. This is my very first time doing this, and I did make a little blunder there in the middle, but at the end, I kind of decided I liked it because it looked kind of cool. One thing I did learn as I was doing this is it's important to kind of clean off your tool after each little swipe, because if you don't, it starts to build up and it gets kind of thick and it leaves a little bit of that in the pattern. So after I did my vertical lines, I came across on the opposite side and did some horizontal lines all the way to the bottom of the board. All right, this isn't looking too bad. I kind of like it. This line down the middle, at first it was really bothering me, but now I kind of like it because I kind of got the same thing across on my horizontal lines. So I feel like it looks a little more intentional instead of accidental. So now I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and we're going to try another one. I'm just going to go through this really quick. It's the same process all the way through. Spread the mud evenly across your surface, and then just start having fun and playing with all kinds of different patterns and styles, and play with all the different parts of your combs, the thicker parts, the thinner parts, and just have fun. I really loved this process. It was a ton of fun just playing in the mud. I absolutely love how these textured art pieces turned out. I think they are so cool, y'all. So now I'm ready to get them painted. And I think because I do love all these color palettes that I have put together here so much, I think I'm gonna pull a few colors from this one, the Moody one, to paint our really cool textured pieces. They have had a couple of days to fully set up and fully dry, so now they're ready for paint, which I think this is gonna be the fun part. So go get your brushes and let's paint. Alrighty, y'all, so I've gone ahead and pre-mixed all of my colors. I created my color palette. This was something I really thought through as I was designing this. I really wanted to have 6 colors that were going to play very well together. So I pre-mixed all of my colors, and then something to keep in mind when you're working on a project like this before you just dive in and put your color right on your project, do a little test swatch. So you can see up there on the left-hand side, I did a little test swatch, and for the most part, I was very happy with all of these colors. And I will have the color combinations that I used to pre-mix all of these colors listed in the description box for y'all if you like this color palette and just want to create the same thing. So now we're just going to have fun painting. And something I did notice is that because this is very, very textured and it is drywall mud, it really soaked up the paint. Like, it used a lot of paint. So when you are pre-mixing your colors, I highly recommend mixing a good amount, because when you mix colors, it is really hard to come back in and get the same exact color ratio and the same color tone. So I do suggest creating, or when you're mixing, make a whole bunch. So I literally just filled up my entire little paint cups here to the brim so that I was sure I would have enough. And then you just paint. It's just a simple painting process. You do want to make sure though that you get down inside all of the grooves. And I love this green color. This is one of my favorite greens. I just love the rich dark green on this. So now we're going to come in with this really beautiful blue, and it looked pretty good on my swatch, but as I started putting it on this mud, I'm like, this might be a smidge too light for me. So I did come back in and add a little tiny bit of black to this blue color, and it really deepened it up, and I liked it so much better after I did that. So now we are just going to have fun painting and enjoying this whole process. I love this. I think this was so much fun. I truly had a blast working on all of these pieces. So here you can see I'm coming in and adding a little bit of black to this paint, just really deepen it up. And then you do want to make sure that you get it stirred and mixed really well. And you'll be able to see the difference here. It really deepened this up a lot, and it deepened it up a lot, and I really didn't have to add very much black. Just a little dollop of black was all it took. So I'm not sure why I had to make y'all sit through me stirring that entire thing of paint. Didn't you just love watching that? Okay, so you can really see the difference here. So once I got this remixed, I came back in, and yeah, this is so much better. I like this little bit darker, more moodier shade of blue. So now I'm just going to go ahead and finish painting all 6 of these pieces, and then we just get to wait for the paint to dry. And then we get to do the fun part, style them. This is a really fun color, y'all. As I was painting it on, it was looking a little bit black, but when you hold it up to the light, you can actually see that this is a really deep plum purple color, and I think it is so pretty. So now I'm down to the last one. So for this one, I just chose a safe neutral color in this really pretty earthy tan, and here is how they all look together. Okay, y'all, so we got these all painted and I got them hung, and I am really loving this art project. I think these turned out really cool, and they were so fun to do. It was fun to just dive in and play with a little bit of mud and get your fingers all ooey and gooey. So y'all are gonna have to let me know what you think of these. I love them, and I'm super, super excited to have them hanging in the studio because I'll get to see them a lot and look at them and really enjoy them. I'm really excited about our next project. This is going to be a fun one too, and this piece is going to be one that is just super laid back. It's fun, it's whimsical, it's playful. I think y'all are going to love it. So let's go check out project number 2. we are going to simplify things a little bit for this project. So we will be using this stencil that I designed, and I will have this available for y'all as a free download, so you can recreate this if you so choose. And then I'm going to be using this 12 by 16 inch canvas board. I got these ones at Hobby Lobby, but I think you can find them at just about pretty much any art supply store. And then of course we're going to be needing some paint colors of your choice. I am using a variety of colors here, and I will have them all listed for you in the description box, all the colors that I used. We will also need brushes for this, obviously. That's kind of an obvious choice. And then we're going to have some fun with some of these half round beads. We're going to use these to make our little gumballs. And I found these ones on Amazon, so I will have them linked for y'all. So to get started, I am first going to put down the base color. This is the color that I want my gumball machine to be, because we are doing a reverse stencil here. I like to use the reverse stencil method because you just get super crisp, clean lines. So I came in, this is a metallic gold color, it's Folk Art brand, and it did take 3 coats of this, y'all. And I really didn't need to cover the entire board with this. I probably could have just saved myself a little time, a little effort, and a little bit of paint by just covering the center section where the stencil's actually going to be, but for whatever reason I went ahead and painted the entire board. And again, it did take 3 coats of this. This metallic paint is not very opaque. It's a little on the transparent side, so you do have to use several coats to get a nice full coverage. So I've painted that, and while that's I've set it aside, and while it's drying, we're going to work on our gumballs. And I had some paint colors left over from our fun little textured art pieces, so I decided to use that for the gumballs so that I didn't waste this paint, because I mixed a whole lot of this stuff and I loved the colors, so it worked out perfect. I'm not gonna lie, these were kind of fiddly to paint, and I did end up with a mess. My hands were covered in paint, and the beads, they just kind of want to fly everywhere as you're painting them. So be aware of that, because they were a little fiddly to paint. But I did get them all painted, and in total, I do believe it took about 35 of these to cover my whole little gumball section on the thing. So, yep, I sat and painted 35 of these little gumballs, and it did take a little bit of time. Okay, so our base color is down, and now I can go ahead, it's fully dry, and now we can go ahead and come in with our stencil. Now y'all, do as I say, not as I do here. Use transfer tape to do this. I don't know what I was thinking, because normally I will use transfer tape. I will take the time to do it, but instead I just went right in. And once the vinyl hits your board, it is stuck down. So this went on a little tiny bit crooked, and I got it higher on the board than I wanted to. So yeah, use transfer tape to do this so that you can take time to get it positioned exactly the way you want. Learn from my mistake, y'all. Okay, so now our stencil is down, and I do come in and make sure that all of my edges are fully pressed down so that I don't get any paint bleed through on this. Now I'm going to come in with the top coat. This is the color that's going to show on top of our gumball machine, if that makes sense to y'all. And for this, I'm coming in with just a nice neutral color here, and I do 2 coats. Well, actually, maybe I did 3. I might have done 3 coats across this whole entire thing, and you do want to cover the whole piece. You don't necessarily have to go over the top of your stencil, but I do, because I feel like by doing this, I am ensured that I'm going to get a nice crisp line. So after 2 coats of paint, I let it fully dry, and now we can go ahead and lift up our stencil. This is such a satisfying process, because as you're lifting, it just starts to reveal the gumball machine underneath. And I don't know, it just kind of makes me feel all giddy. I love this part. Do lift it up fairly slow though. You want to make sure you go slow, because if you just come in and just rip it right off, you do run the risk of tearing up some of your paint a little bit. So after I did that, I wanted to kind of give a little bit of dimension to this. So I came in and did wash border all around the outer edge of this gumball machine to just kind of give it a little bit of shading and shadow behind it, so that it kind of makes it look like it's a little 3D, and it sort of pops it up off the canvas. So to do this, I just used a damp brush, and I only dip, and I am using an angle brush to do this also, because that is a little bit helpful. Then I just dip one edge of my brush into my paint, and then just start painting all around the edge, and you can kind of see how it creates just this nice soft shadowing effect behind the piece. Now I want to come in and add our little round circle for like the gumball dispenser. So I'm just using one of my little paint tubes to draw a perfect circle around this, and I did draw it on fairly light so that you don't really see the pencil lines, and I also didn't want to make like a little dent with the pencil in this, so I did do a very light circle, and then I'm just simply going to come in and paint black paint around that whole entire thing. Pretty simple little step here. After finishing that step, I was looking at it going, I think I need a little bit more depth in the round circle part where our gumballs are going to be. So I came in with a fine, very fine liner brush and did a little tiny black outline all around the inner circumference of that. And it really did kind of just give it a little bit of dimension and helps it pop a little bit off the canvas. Now we can start attaching all of our fun little gumballs. So to do this, I am just simply using some wood glue. However, I'm using my brush to apply the wood glue so that I can be precise with how it goes on, because these are little, they are tiny, and I really wanted to try and avoid glue squeeze out, because it can be a little bit hard to clean up. If you do get some squeeze out though, just use a clean, damp paintbrush and it works perfect for cleaning up any of your glue that you might get, like if you do get a little bit of squeeze out. So now I'm just going to go ahead and finish attaching all of these, y'all, and it took a little time to do this, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, y'all, so the gumballs are all finally attached. It felt like it took me forever and a day to get all of those itty bitty things down, but I finally got them on. And then I was looking at this going, I feel like this needs a little something. So I came in and did some dry brushing across the entire canvas. I felt like it just needed, it was looking a little too crisp and clean for me, and it was lacking depth. So I came in, did a little bit of dry brushing across the entire thing to just kind of antique it up a little, give it a little of aging and a little dimension. And then across the gumball machine, I came in with a very dry brush and did some burnt umber across this just to give the gumball machine a little something because it was looking a little lackluster. Then across this section right here where the globe separates from the base of the gumball machine, I darkened up the lines a little bit just to give a little bit of separation between the two, and it really did make a big difference. Now, y'all, at this point, this piece, I wasn't feeling super excited about this piece. It wasn't looking exactly the way I envisioned this. I'm actually making this for my daughter. It's going to go in her game room, and it was not turning out, but I never give up on a project. I like to see everything through to the end. So we're going to pop it in the frame, flip it over, and see what it looks like in the frame. And I'm still not too sure about this piece. However, I think it's going to be okay. So now here's something. I ordered a really cool globe to glue on to the top part of this so that it gave it a lot of dimension and made it look like a real gumball machine. However, it didn't get here in time. So this is still a little on the unfinished side. So maybe once that globe gets here and I get it glued on, I'm going to like it a little bit better. I don't think I like this one. You know, not every single project that I come up with turns out exactly the way I envisioned it. And this one, it's cute, it's fun, it's playful, and I think it's gonna work for, you know, the space that I had, because I'm making this one for my daughter, and I think it's gonna work for the space that I intended for it. However, it's just not my favorite. I don't know what it's missing. It seems to be lacking something, and to be perfectly honest, it's probably the dome cover, because I really think once we get the dome cover on this, it's gonna really pull this together and give it that finished look, because right now it just kind of looks like it's missing something, and technically it is. I was really sad that that cover didn't get here in time, but when it gets here, I'll take a picture of this and show it to you all finished, because I think you'll even find that once it has the cute little dome, it's gonna look a lot better. But anyway, that wraps up project number 2. Y'all are gonna have to let me know what you think of this one. So let's go work on our very last project. This one I am super excited about, and I can hardly wait to share it with y'all. Our last project today is going to be a piece that I've wanted to do for quite some time. I drew up the design for this quite a long time ago and just haven't had a chance to do it. So today we're going to take that design and bring it to life. So we're going to be upcycling this sign that I have had in my sitting room for quite some time. And if you've been with me for a while, you might even recognize this. And while I have enjoyed this sign for a very long time, I'm kind of moving away from that farmhouse decor in my sitting room and going a little bit more timeless and contemporary. So I thought, instead of just tossing this out, we're going to upcycle it and reuse this, because this is actually a beautiful, well-built sign, and I didn't want to just toss it away. So this is going to be our canvas for this project. I did take this out to the shop and gave it a really good sanding first. However, it took 3 or 4 coats of this base color for me to fully cover that lettering. I do not know why it took so many coats of paint, but I really was struggling to get that lettering covered up. So finally, after several coats, I let that dry, finally got the lettering covered up, and now I want to go ahead and start creating the backdrop for our actual painting. We're going to paint some dandelions on this, and it's going to be so much fun. These are going to be the easiest dandelions to paint. Trust me, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I wanted my backdrop for this to be kind of just this really soft, blended background for our dandelions. So I came in and did some what's just called a blending technique. And the best way to do this is to use a damp brush. Using a damp brush to do this is really key, and it really is the trick to getting your blend really smooth and creamy across your surface. So to do it, I just dip one side of my paintbrush in one color and the other side in a slightly darker color, and just blended it across the entire canvas, and it just gives us this really pretty soft backdrop. Now we can go ahead and start painting the dandelions. So the first thing I needed to do was obviously decide the position of where I wanted each dandelion. I think I'm going to do 3 on here. So I just came in with these little round, these are like some round cutters for cutting round circles that I have probably had for 30 years or better. And I don't use them ever for cutting round circles anymore. I mostly just use them for a stencil when I want to draw something round. So I just came in and did 3 circles on here. For the very last dandelion though, we're just going to do a half dandelion. So I just made like a half circle at the bottom because I don't need a full circle. Next step is we need to draw some centers for our dandelion. This is going to give us that center point to start building the dandelion from. So I just came in with a round brush and a couple of different colors on the brush and just started blending a little circle into the little center into each of the circles. So for the whole dandelions, you want to place your center as close to center of that circle that we drew as you possibly can. And then on the half one, I just did my center at the top part. Now, okay, are y'all still with me? Okay, so now we're going to come in and just start drawing some lines. And don't let this intimidate y'all, because this is so easy to do and it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, it's just, we're just playing and we're just creating. So I'm just going to start drawing some lines from our center point out to that initial circle that we traced on. I know it's really hard to see that circle because I drew it very light. And I started by drawing mine in a clock pattern because I really think that it helps give you a good visual and a good starting point to drawing your lines. So we're just going to go ahead and draw lines. Don't cross that center dot that we created. You want to start from the outside of that and draw your lines to the very outside of your first initial circle that we drew on, and try not to cross that circle either, because that's going to help give us that perfect round dandelion. So if you've ever really looked at a dandelion and studied it, it basically is just this big round cluster of seeds. So when you're creating all of your lines, like I said, initially I start with a clock pattern and then I start coming in and filling it in. You do want to fill in with quite a few lines. You want a lot of lines in here, and it's okay if some of them overlap, because actually, to be honest, overlapping them a little is what helps give it that full fluffy look. The trick though is to just do as many lines as you can possibly fit into your little circle, because that's what gives us that nice fluffy dandelion look. So for the half dandelion here, it's the same exact thing. We're drawing some lines from our center point outwards to that outer circumference of our first circle, except for this time we're not going all the way around. We're just going to do the very bottom half of this going in a downward motion, because that's what we just want to do, like a half dandelion. Now, so I forgot to mention too, so my very first color choice that I used for the first set of lines was a very, it's kind of like a soft gray color. So that's what's going to give us the backdrop. Now we're going to come in with some pure white, and we're going to start kind of going over all of those lines. However, you don't want to trace them exactly. You kind of want to go off your first lines just a little bit to the side, because this is what's going to start building the depth and the dimension of our dandelion. So I'm just going to come in with that white paint now, and I'm just going to sort of start tracing over every single one of these with that white to give it a nice pop off of the canvas. Now here's where the magic is going to start happening. We're going to take a flat brush. You want to use like a 1/2 inch to a 1 inch flat brush. Dip just the very tip of your bristles into some pure white paint, and then holding your brush straight up and down, we're going to start coming in and we're going to trace around that outer circumference of our dandelion, and we're just going to go back in some very soft back and forth motions to create the fluffy part of our seed. So all of the lines in our dandelion are basically our seed clusters. Now we kind of want to make it look fluffy, like a dandelion looks. It kind of has that fluffy outside look to it. So to do this again, we're just going to go back and forth with just some soft, gentle back and forth motions. And you kind of want this to look not super precise. You want to have a little bit of lines. You want those paint strokes to show, because that's what kind of gives us the illusion of that soft edge. So Hope you can see what I'm doing here. I really hope this is making sense for y'all, but you're basically just scrubbing your brush back and forth with a very gentle hand, making sure to keep your brush in a very upward, straight up and down position, and again, just scrubbing back and forth to get the illusion of just that very soft, fluffy part of the dandelion. Now we need to come in and paint the top part of our dandelion. So we want to start giving this a lot of depth, and we want to make this look very dimensional. So to do this, now we're going to come in with just our white paint, and we're going to start painting lines all across this dandelion again, only this time we're going to cover up. We're going to start from the inside of our center point that we blotted on, that we dabbed on or pounced on. And we're going to make our lines just a little bit shorter. So you kind of want to make short strokes, short lines going all the way to through the inside of this, still keeping it in a round circular motion. But this time we want to make sure that we're fully covering up that center point that we created, because this is what's going to start giving it some depth and some dimension. You can kind of see how that's happening here and how it's kind of starting to pop off of our canvas a little bit and just looking more dimensional. So we're going to do that with all three of our dandelions. And once that is done, we're going to come in with that light gray color that we used initially for our first set of lines, and just start creating some dots all the way around your dandelion, just in a crazy haphazard pattern, just all over the place. Create some fun little dots, and you want to do this to all three dandelions. I know those dots are really, really hard to see on my canvas because we use such a light gray color, but in those dots, we're now going to start creating some actual little seeds, and these are going to kind of look like they're sitting on top of our dandelion. They're going to be, this is what's really going to start making this dandelion have a lot of depth and dimension to it, and start making it look a little bit 3D. So the trick here is, from each of those dots that we painted on, we're just going to come in and start making some little squiggly lines, almost like if you were drawing like a star or a snowflake almost. You just want to make little lines. I do think it kind of makes it look a little bit more realistic if you curve those lines a little bit. The main thing to remember is you want these to all, so our straight lines that we did coming out, all of our seed lines, these ones we want them to go across those seed lines. So you can see here where I've come in, just drawn all these fun little dots all around the whole entire dandelion. And then from those dots, or on top of each one of those dots, we're going to start making fun little squiggly lines. And I think I drew like 5 or 6 little squiggly lines off of each dot. You kind of want to start your lines in the center of the dot and work outwards in just a soft little scribbly kind of motion, so that the dot almost gets covered up. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I really hope that y'all are still with me and you're still following me, and that this is making sense to you. So I did all of that in that first initial very light gray color. Now we're going to come in and just retrace all of those with our pure white, and you can see how it's really starting to look like just this big fluffy dandelion. We do that to all three of them. We're just going to keep repeating that same process. So by the time you've done 3 dandelions, you are going to be a professional dandelion painter. I really hope that y'all are enjoying this, because for me, I find it to be so peaceful, so relaxing, and so therapeutic. So I do highly encourage you to give this a try. You do not have to have any kind of artistic experience, because literally all we have done here is just draw some lines in a circle. We've done some squiggles, we've done some wiggles and some scribbles, and it really is just as easy as
does that. So after I got all of our little individual dandelion seeds drawn on, I did come back in with a little bit of burnt umber and did a tiny little dot in the center of each one of those. When we created that first dot that we painted off of, I kind of come back in and mimic that again, only with a darker color, because it does give it just a little bit of that polished, finished look. Now we're going to go ahead and paint on some dandelion seeds flying in the wind. Do y'all remember when we were little kids and we thought it was so much fun to just pick a dandelion and blow on it and make a wish, just knowing that our wish was going out into the universe and it was going to come true? So we're going to go ahead and mimic that a little bit, just some seeds flying in the wind. And to do this, I just drew some little squiggles with some black paint. And then at the tips of those squiggles, I did some white paint. And now we're just going to come in and make some little teeny weeny lines off the tip of that white paint in just a little tiny cluster to just give us a little bit of that fluffy seed look. And I think I did like 7 of these across the canvas. You just want to do them in a little bit of a haphazard way, just to give them that look as if they are literally flying in the wind. Now to finish off our dandelions, we're just simply going to add in some stems. So I penciled these on first because I just wanted to make sure that I liked the placement of them. And I think the trick to doing stems is to give them a little bit of a curve. I think it just makes it look a little bit more flowy. So I did some curved lines with my pencil, and now I'm just coming back in with a little bit of burnt umber and tracing over my pencil lines with a super fine liner brush. And then to finish it off, I came back in with a little bit more white, and just on the tip of that stem brushed a tiny little bit of white on to kind of cover it up and make it look like the stem was actually behind our dandelion. And then the most satisfying part, I'm going to peel away the paint tape from my frame, and voila, y'all, we've created some dandelions. I think they are so cute. I just love them. And honestly, I felt like this was super easy, super approachable, super doable. Like I said, you don't have to have any kind of artistic experience. My advice, I just encourage you to try and to just sit and play and have fun, because it is so very therapeutic.
I really, really love the dandelions, y'all. This is probably my favorite project of the 3. I think they turned out so cute. And this was a super easy approach to painting dandelions. I know y'all can do this, so you're gonna have to let me know if this is something you think you will try. I hope you will, because it was so much fun painting these dandelions. I love how they turned out. Alrighty, friends, well, that is going to wrap up our projects for this week. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this. I had a blast. I loved working on all 3 of our designs. It was so relaxing for me, and it actually made me feel very refreshed and ready to tackle new projects. So I hope that y'all feel inspired. I know sometimes art is a little scary, but you honestly don't have to be some, big, giant, amazing artist to tackle any of these projects. They were all so fun, so easy, and so approachable. So hopefully, if you're a little afraid of art, this inspired you to pull out those brushes, paints, and canvas and give some of these a try. Y'all are going to have to let me know if you have a favorite of the 3. I definitely think mine is the dandelions. Okay, friends, well, that wraps it all up. I am so glad that y'all were here. I enjoyed hanging out with y'all and spending time together this week. So y'all, next week I've got some fun projects, as always, coming your way. We're gonna jump into some fun early spring projects. So come back, see me again next week. Until then, take care, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.
Special thanks to all of my members. I appreciate you so very much. If you are interested in becoming a member, hit that join button and check out all of the levels that we have available.